So it's my first year coming to ScalaUA, and it's really interesting because I usually go to conferences in Western Europe or in the US, and it's quite a different crowd here. So it's I'm meeting a lot of new people, so I'm pretty happy about this. And the talk are really good too. So yeah, very good.
I came here only yesterday afternoon. I didn't see much yet. There are some very high-level talks. There are a few today I would like to see, and I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, it's great again. So I'm here the third time, and I enjoy it very much every time.
I see that there's a wide range of topics discussed. There is some functional programming topics and some focus on akka and build tools, which is nice. And also some formal verifications of programs, talking some white papers. It's all really interesting.
Well, this is the second time that I'm here. I was here first in 2017. And I must say that this is really one of my more favorite, smaller type of conferences. So sort of the same as 2017, but it's good to be back.
So it's my first year here. It's been very welcoming. The organization is very, very good, and the talks are interesting. Also, it's nice that like everything here is in the hotel, including the lunches and everything. It's convenient logistically. So, but I really enjoyed the content and the welcoming atmosphere. So everybody are really friendly, and well, it's nice.
This year is my first time in ScalaUA conference, so it was very exciting for me because they selected my talk, and everything is perfect here, and I loved it since the beginning. Like everything is well organized, and I loved it. And even like from the starting, like they went people to pick up from the airport. That was a very positive thing, and even here they are always available to reply our questions. So it's really wonderful. And apart from it, the talks, the people that I met here, and they are really great. So I'm looking forward to coming next year as well.
Well, since that's my third or fourth time here, I pretty like this conference, and I like the location. It's very convenient, I think, for the people who are not living in Kiev, that it is hosted in a hotel. So yeah, it is very nice and cool atmosphere.
I believe I met a lot of inspiring people right here, and it's a lot of fun.
I like the venue a lot. The travel and the organization was very smooth, and there are a lot of new faces for me here. I barely know anyone, and I think it's fine.
I think the first day was tremendous. A lot of interesting talks on all kinds of topics, ranging from functional programming to build tools to applications in the industry. So very fascinating talks. I would especially note John DeGosse's talk about Zeal, which can really bring Scala for the masses and can really raise the popularity of Scala and working in a purely functional manner. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, first time at the conference, and I have to say that what I like is that this conference have a spirit of community-driven conference. It's the first impression, and I liked a lot.
For me, it's the first time I'm in Ukraine and participating in this conference as a speaker. So I'm very happy. I think the quality of presentation, the talks, they are really good, and the organization, hats off. Like one of the best conferences that I've attended in Europe. So yeah, pretty good conference, and definitely I would love to come back.
Yeah, I really like the technical content this year. I think it has like different levels, so you can find something for beginners, for advanced level, and also I really like all the activities around the conference, like speakers dinner yesterday, and I'm really looking forward to the after party today. Yeah.
Oh, it's a very good impression. I hadn't been in a Scala conference for more than a year, and I see very interesting things in libraries and data generation. Yeah, it's fascinating.
Well, so far it has been an awesome conference, and I'm really impressed on the the organizing part. It's probably the conference where the talks get on YouTube the fastest. So, really nice conference, really well organized, and I think that's a great summary.
This year I'm really excited to be here again because this is my second ScalaUA conference, and I'm really happy because this year I met John DeGoss exactly in the airport, and I transferred him to the city, so we have some talk about the problems in functional programming and so on. So this was a double surprise for me.
The talks are highly technical, and so are the people. It was a great discovery to see that it's really targeting professional engineers and not necessarily managers or stuff like that. It was really nice to see.
Well, the impressions are quite good. The level is quite good. We finally got Martin Oderski. Hopefully, in the next one we'll have him in person. John Pretty. Yeah, the level is quite good.
Well, I love the people that I'm running into. I've run into so many people who are doing really interesting work in the Scala open source world. These are authors who are contributing to libraries. They're building projects that are notable and growing, and I've been really just thrilled to have so many conversations with so many people doing important work.
I'm so excited. If you compare with previous year, it was much better start, I think, because thanks for such famous speakers like DeGoss and Martin Oderski, it was really impressive, and our Ukrainian speakers and others was, I think, highly motivated to keep the level of speech and talk, and it was a really interesting one.
I believe the ScalaUA slowly starts to getting into a kind of a problem, because you cannot raise the bar infinitely. Yeah, at some point the expectations of the people who get used to great organization and great speakers and stuff like that, they won't be met anymore. Yeah, no. On the serious note, it's like before, great organization, well-known speakers, interested and engaging audience. Cool.
This year it's hard to say that, because previous year was totally awesome and fascinating, but this year was even better than that. I really like this conference, and I'm very proud to be here for the second year in a row as a speaker. That's a great thing. I really like this conference, I really enjoy it. Hospitality is great. The way things are arranged, the organization is totally awesome. So thank you for organizing this wonderful conference.
Fine. Differences, we have many logics. And I think that logic will be the next big summer. And few maybe concurrency and functional become a common ground.
Actually, it's my third year in ScalaUA. This year I was in a little bit less lectures, but it's always really nice to be here and see many Scala advocates and people who love the language.
I have a pretty positive impression. It's a great atmosphere here, a lot of people, good talks, great food, so it's pretty cool.
ScalaUA is by itself impressive. It covers a lot of important things in software development, from data engineering, data science, the data science is machine learning, deep learning, web development. So I think it's a good place for everyone, for the beginners, for the old men that are in programming for ages, to improve their skills and to learn something new.
Well, I think it's a really well-organized conference, and obviously you guys bring a lot of people from outside of Ukraine, which is pretty nice, because there's a lot of local conferences around that are pretty much focused on the local development scene, and you make the effort to bring professionals from outside Ukraine, and I think that's great. And apart from that, there's a lot of really talented people, so the audience is great questions. I really liked it.
I absolutely enjoying this year this conference, probably even more than a year ago, because I see the quality of the talks growing up, and I see much more interesting talks. I see a lot of nice people with absolutely amazing background technical skills. Something like that.
My impressions this year, well, most of the impressions I get are based on the interactions I have, so talking to people rather than listening to talks. And I've had some great discussions already and got some impulses on direction for my further work on improving build tool integration in IntelliJ.
I like there are a lot of speakers like John Pretty, John Legois. They are really good in Scala. So and I'm glad that our country invited those speakers into this conference.
Oh, it's great. I came 3 years ago to one of the early editions, and both then and now it's been a great conference with lots of interesting talks. I've seen lots of interesting speakers give talks on a variety of topics, and yeah, I would love to come again.
Well, I have my personal perception is that tooling becomes more important. So I hear more about stuff like language servers, build tools, dependency management tools. At the same time, purely functional programming is still on the rise, and things like Scala Zio are like very trending these days. So these are the current trends that I perceive are happening in the world.
I think we are going more toward a more functional-oriented point of view. And even on the EPFL team, I think the functional paradigm is gaining a trend in Scala. When you see, for example, talks about Scala from Martin a few years back, and now I feel there is it still conserves his idea that it's a fusion between O and or FP, but it goes more towards FP.
So I think in the last year or so, people have been more and more convinced to the functional programming approach to writing software. And there's also an influx of new build tools that are being used to build Scala programs. And I'm really excited about that, about Fury, about the BSP protocol for build tools communicating with editors and other pieces of tooling. There are new editors coming. And as for trends in the actual development, I think people have been doing more FP and Tag is Final, and in general, there's always something new. So there's Zio, there's Cat's Effect. People are using these libraries more often, and I think that's helping them write better software. So I would just stick with that, learn more FP, the fundamentals, and keep doing Scala.
So I think the biggest trend is probably the growth of functional programming inside Scala. Scala consists of three main factions. It's Big Data Scala, and that's Spark and that ecosystem, and Lightbend Scala, the akka stuff, and so forth, and then the functional programming side of Scala. And that's really growing. In fact, I'd say probably more than half the talks here are about functional Scala. And a lot of people are getting into the functional way of writing Scala. So it's a big trend in 2019, one I'm very excited for personally because I'm a big fan of functional programming.
I think definitely the most interesting thing is the upcoming .E release. So the transition from Scala 2 to Scala 3.0, that is going to be a very interesting time frame.
Well, I'm probably repeating what other people already said before, but the whole functional effects work that's going on lately is really bringing functional programming into production-ready environments. So we have John DeGoes with ZIO, and some other people were doing talks about Cat's Effects, and I think this as a trend will really help promote production-ready functional systems, which I think will be some of the, at least a big part of Scala's future, I think.
So most importantly, as Martin Orzeski, he's talked about the Scala 3 will be coming next. So I'm really excited about that thing, and as I'm going to the Scala days in Lausanne as well. So I'm looking forward what we are going to bring in the Scala World.
Well, at first, yes, logic. We have interest to logical frameworks and specifications. And second tense, that all wait for something new, all wait for Dotty.
I believe there are few of them. For instance, ZIO is a hot topic in this year. For me personally, the new build tools like Bloop and Metals language server and Fury and interpretation with IntelliJ is interesting. Yeah.
I believe that this comparing Scala to Kotlin will be in this year very interesting, because Kotlin has a lot of support from Google, and Scala will release new version. I believe that will be most interesting in this year.
Well, I think it's very interesting that we are moving to Scala 3 and Dotty, and there is kind of the chance to rethink a lot of things, and it will become even better Scala than what we have now. It's still like 1.5 years to go, but we are watching it with very much interest.
So I think one of them, again with Zio, is the tagless final approach in functional programming, or more of the reader monad approach that John has posited. So it's going to be interesting to see where this will lead and what will be more popular in a year from now. And also in the build tools area, Fury is coming up this year, and I talked about Bazel. So we're going to get faster Scala compilation and faster build times, and that's, I think, another good promise. And of course, Scala 3 and Dotty will get Scala to the next level, and we will see, I think, bigger popularity of Scala in the next few years.
I'm glad to see new talks related to, let's say, machine learning built on top of Spark pipelines. I see that data transformation pipeline in complex processing is much more popular every year, and this is definitely good. Also, I think it includes some performance-related improvements to build very complex and systems much more close to near real-time processing.
Definitely, I'm a specialist in AI and machine learning, so it's really the integration of models in application layers and engineering that is really interesting, yes.
Well, last year I told you exactly in the same place that we are going to do more reactive programming and some asynchronous execution of our programming flow. But this year a lot of things changed, and the main emphasis is definitely on a functional programming.
I would mention the death and resurrection of tagless final. Could be a nice topic for this year.
I think many people, including myself, are talking about the correct abstraction for concurrency and for parallelism. I think actually a good way to learn about it is learn other languages like Haskell, Clojure, Lisp, stuff like that. I think, and Rust, of course. I think you can gain a lot from doing that.
So Scala developers are among the best paid in the world, and we also have this good internal research that we have a lot of very high-level talks, very high-level new libraries going on. But I think in the long term it can be a good recipe for disaster. So we are like this in this ivory tower. We look down to everyone around us, and there's really it's very hard for other people to come to us. So our high level does not really translate into new people coming to Scala. We see that in the rankings, Scala is like a flat line, somewhere in the second 10 of popularity of languages. And that means that if other languages are getting more popular and we stay on this level, then in a few years we are going to get down. And so I think it's very important to get new people to Scala, and we should really focus on that.
Okay, so what I have seen in the other conferences that people are talking a lot about artificial intelligence. So maybe this is one of the subjects that you can add to just have some diversity. But other than that, like I think all the different areas was pretty much covered by the talks that we had here: Scala, functional programming, big data. So yeah.
I think the most powerful conquering is to define the unique instrument for working with concurrency and asynchronous because of obsolete of future and Akka stack. And thanks for DIO and CATS effect, we have two other worlds where we need to select which one we need to choose.
Yeah, I think that it's worth concentrating more on machine learning, as I see that a lot of machine learning models are like starting to be built in Scala, which wasn't popular before. Also, data engineering is like a huge field for Scala development, and before that, most of the people were probably developing in Python or Java, but now it's more concentrated on Scala, and I think it's important.
I believe that Scala is changing, especially this coming of Scala 3 as a almost totally new language that will pose some challenges. But I do think that most important stuff is staying on top of things, constantly learning your craft, basically. If you do that, then you're set up, basically. So learn, and seek new things. There's always something else, something more you can become interested in, something more you can basically learn. So just do that, and all the trends, you'll master all the trends. You'll be above it, basically.
This year I wasn't that updated, but I can say about my own progress, since like the first couple of years of me in Scala was just trying everything, and then the year after, I think like last year, there were more like new and advanced stuff. I think this year for me is more about standards and more about using whatever we got in a smarter way. Like after we've been through a road of playing with stuff which is very experimental.
I'm coming from big data world, so I would recommend to invest time into streaming architecture. I think that's the best business demand nowadays.
I'm not sure, so maybe functional programming.
Well, seems to be many trends, but things that I'm concentrating on, of course, is integration of build tools, specifically how we can do it better in terms of interoperability and adopting new tools. And this applies to tooling in general. Yes, I work on tooling, so I think a lot about tooling.
I think the big thing that's happening in the moment in the Scala community is this anticipation, growing anticipation for the release of Scala 3. It's a new version of Scala that has more new features than we've ever seen arrive at the same time ever before, I think. And that's very exciting for a lot of people. It's also, a lot of people have some fear over what that means for their existing software. Will it still continue to work? What work needs to be done in order for their software to run on the Scala 3 compiler? So it's very much the start of a transition period. I think that will last for at least 3 years, maybe longer, and it'll be maybe many years, 5 years, maybe longer before we are in a situation where we have this the luxuries of Scala 3, which I'm sure will be worth the effort, without the challenge of maintaining both a Scala 2 and a Scala 3 ecosystem at the same time.
So I tend to be really interested in type-level programming and what you can do and how you can use the compiler to work for you, basically. And I hope that people get more interested into that too, and so that we can see like more automation and more ways to ease our jobs as developers.
It's definitely Scala 3, which is currently called .NET. It's the future of Scala. I strongly believe that the transition will eventually happen. And I very much like what Martin and his team is doing, so I think it's a Scala future, so definitely Scala 3.
Yeah, the most trending things in Scala World in these few years is data engineering. Every year, the count of positions for data engineer that should manage some banking data, car data, Internet of Things, it is growing. And that's where Scala is very useful. It allows to develop complicated systems and make them more reliable. The second trend, I think, is I/O monods. We already have cats effects, we have Zio, we have Monix. They allows developer to make their code more explicit, more verbose, more safe. And yeah, probably it's the problem that we have so much ways to do the same, but I think with Scala 3 we will come to one very good implementation. The third trend, I think, is the approach of developing software. I mean about the architecture. Now probably the mainstream thing is tagless final. Yeah, it has very mathematical basics, but it allows us to make software better. So I hope that more functional approaches will come to each project, and Scala will become not just better Java. I hope better Haskell, and Scala 3 will be the best.
Well, I think there are a lot of exciting things that are coming to Scala. So obviously Scala 3 and .NET, as well as it will be interesting to see talks that talk about Growl and that kind of technology, because I think it's a real game changer in the long term. So I think that's something that could be that people can focus on. And obviously there are other new developments that have been covered at other conferences, like typed actors and these sort of things. So it will be interesting to see some of that in the future as well.
I think Scala developers and engineers in general should get their level higher in machine learning, not necessarily the mathematics details, but getting to understand how to integrate these technologies into application layers, yes.
Actually, Ukrainian Scala community is a bit small, and as I know, mostly it's concentrated in Kyiv. I hope that Scala, and Scala is most frequently used in banking system, online gaming, Internet of Things. I hope that actually Scala can be used for front-end development, for system development. So I hope that the use cases for Scala will be growing exponentially. I would recommend Ukrainian Scala community to look at Scala.js to develop front-end, because it provides stronger guarantees that even than TypeScript, even that
there's a Haskell-like JavaScript. I forgot the name, but probably most of us know it. I wish that Ukrainian developers will start in contributing into open source projects, will invite their own interesting libraries, that they will help to develop Scala itself, because Scala tree is close and we all can come to Martin Udersky, say, hey Martin, I want this stuff in Scala. It will be great to discuss it and to have it in the result. So, and the main thing I wish that Scala developers be more confident in yourself.
I recommend that if people want to really take control of their career, then it's really necessary to level up your knowledge sort of at every step of the game. That means studying, finding out what the broader community is doing, learning new technologies, also contributing to open sources, going to conferences like this one, networking with other people, establishing really good connections, reading books that are coming out on Scala, and ideally even contributing to some of the faster growing open source projects. It's something that anyone can do anywhere to benefit their career, and especially in a place like Ukraine, you raise your talent above a certain level and you can be employed by anyone, anywhere in the world, earning ridiculously good salary. It's a really great time to be a Scala developer if you know what you're doing and you're continuously investing into yourself.
I think this is the same recommendations as for Scala developers everywhere. Get more to other people, get more interested in what other people do. Don't focus very narrowly on what you're doing. We really need people from all paths of life. Like we need to go and snatch them and bring us to the Scala community, because we need the Scala community to be seen as inviting, as welcoming. We need all new guys, like someone from university, but also someone who just woke up and decided that they want to learn programming. We need, I don't know, mothers with little babies, people from just teenagers or older people who want to switch their careers, everyone. And I see ourselves a bit like, especially if we are experienced Scala developers, a bit like Jedi Masters. We just sit somewhere and those Padawans, those students, they have to come to us and prove themselves. And it should be exactly the other way around. We should go to them and we should be grateful that they want to learn. Generally, more diversity, more welcoming community, and we really need to work on that.
Well, I really recommend checking out the Zio library, but also if you haven't yet, you can check out Cat's Effect and all the alternative libraries. It can really make you a better developer and make your code more concurrent and correct and robust and handling failures. So I really recommend that developers check it out. And that's pretty much it.
Be open to opportunities, work from Ukraine, because our country is most comfortable to live here and work as developer, and also share experience with others and study from other developers.
Well, I don't have a specific recommendation for Ukrainian Scala programmers, but for all programmers everywhere is don't stop learning. So conferences like this and all the resources you have online and just everything that you can learn is typically just improves you as a developer, makes your life better, and if you actually enjoy learning, it's just great. So don't stop learning. That's my recommendation.
Well, I don't know. I wish somebody would give me some recommendations. Sorry.
I think people who come into Scala should take it as a new language, a new paradigm, and not try to rely on their knowledge of object-oriented programming. I think a lot of the problem we have with people coming from Java is that they think they know things, and so when they don't know things, they think it's complex, while it's just things they don't know and they have to learn. And so we are really bad at judging complexity.
Oh, I would say that all of Scala developers in Ukraine should be more open, because for the last 2 months I spent huge amount of time by contacting a lot of Scala developers, and most of them were pretty close by discussing any questions related to Scala. So be more open.
Well, I think it's good they have picked a good language, good technology, and I like it very much. There are very many people who are very technically skilled. So yeah, just go on like that.
I believe that my recommendation for all developers, not only Scala developers, is to focus on product, on client product, talk with the client and produce great products.
Well, if you're not already doing PUFP, then I suggest you start doing it and practicing, and I wish you all the best.
Learn as many things as you can, I guess. Find something interesting and work on it.
Yeah, I already said that, I guess. Just keep on learning, learn constantly.
Well, my recommendations is to separate hype from the really important information, because as usually I think that there is a pretty substantial amount of hype in this purely functional technologies, tooling technologies, and one way to separate hype from information is to see whether it really solves the problem and which problem it solves, and whether you have this problem or not.
I think that one of the most interesting things here is that we all speak English, even though we all have probably another language and most of us are not native English. So I would recommend for Ukrainian developers, go out more, speak more. Don't be afraid to talk in a different language than that you yourself are speaking. And in that way also collaborate a little bit across the borders and across the countries. That would be a good thing.
Okay, guys, you are doing right. Keep using Scala. Scala is great, still a great thing. Despite a lot of new languages, new technologies, Scala still delivers good results. It works in production systems, and it's still worth to learn and invest your time in Scala.
It's hard to answer because in what field, what accommodation, and in general it depends, yes. So maybe the best accommodation in all that can keep calm and write code.
Keep on using Scala. Keep like experimenting with the functional programming libraries, because they are changing all the times. And if you are working in big data sort of projects, so same goes there as well. You have Spark, you have so many frameworks. So yeah, it's very important to working with them, like playing around, so that way you can always find out the best solution in the market. So yeah.
Usually when we talk about Scala, people, they just scared a little bit because it's kind of functional programming and they are not very used to the functional programming. But it's very interesting. So in my team, I push people to just, attract them toward the functional programming and basically Scala, because it's on the same JVM. So if even you are an object-oriented programmer, you see the simplicity in Scala, but you have to really think about changing in the way you code. So that's really important. The learning curve is a little bit higher, but once you understand all the basics, it's really great to even for a beginner to start and learn with Scala. So that's quite nice.
Well, I think that first of all, it's important to connect with the community, to find some trends and to stay in the current and know what's happening in the local community, and to like visit conferences, also not local conferences but in Europe as well, and to connect to more like global community and just share your knowledge and connect with others and get some ideas from them. Yeah.
Well, I think there is a kind of a big group of very talented people here in Ukraine, and I'm not particularly sure what their involvement is in open source, but I'm pretty sure that they can contribute a lot, and that will sort of kind of give them a lot of exposition. So it will be great for them to sort of engage in open source and that way follow the modern trends in Scala development. So I think that's good.
I think one of the things that I would mention in my lecture is about the power of the principle of least power. Is know all the advanced power and strength you have with the language, but pick the battles you have to use them. You don't have to use shapeless or macros for everything. You can use like the basic stuff or the standard stuff, and think about how you use the really good simple stuff when the problems are simple. Don't try to take the like really hard tools for something very simple.
I would recommend to learn Scala technologies on a practice. Just you need to develop an idea to like get some data and make the real things. The better approach to learn anything is use that on practice.
Of course, it's first to visit this event every year, maybe create from time to time more smaller meetups related to this area, something like that. And of course contribute to open source.
For Ukrainian Scala developers, get involved, contribute, find open source projects. There are lots of projects out there which need work, and they very much value the sort of contributions that can be made by anyone. There's no particularly high barriers to contributing to existing software projects. It's just as easy for someone in Ukraine to do that as it is for someone in the USA, for example. And it's a great opportunity to demonstrate what you're capable of with Scala, to learn from the people who are already working on these open source projects. And yeah, the opportunities are out there, and there is a strong need in the community to have people contribute to open source.
Not afraid, and try to code, try to express your coding results, try to share with others, try to talk, try to open source, try to do best, and as best as you can, and not afraid.